Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the official first makeup video of the year. Yeah, welcome. Hi if you're new, my name is Bianca. I make kind of like beauty, lifestyle, vlog kind of content and an occasional DIY. If you're into that, go ahead and subscribe and don't forget to turn on your notifications. And yeah, today we are going to be using just a bunch of drugstore products that I have been in love with. There was a couple non-drugstore items that I did purchase, but I think for the most part, honestly, I really was sticking with drugstore. And that's mainly because I think the drugstore has definitely stepped up their game when it comes to makeup. So if you guys want to see what it is that I use that I love, go ahead and keep on watching. So I already went ahead and toned my face. I always do that before. And then I also did my brows off camera just because I don't think it's anything too exciting. But the toner I like to use in the mornings is the alcohol free toner by Neutrogena. I've been switching between this one and this other one that a TikToker makeup artist, he actually recommended this one. Let me just say, if you have big pores, oily skin, all that stuff, or like that little, what is it called? I don't know, where your skin just feels like it's bumpy, this. Highly recommend. As you can see, I'm obsessed. I'm in love. So I'm also a firm believer that if you take care of your skin, your foundation is also going to look a lot better. Since using this toner, the makeup artist also recommended to pair it with this moisturizer and that it's actually still really good under your makeup. And let me just say, this under my makeup has not failed me. So I do add about 2 pumps of this all along my face. Again, I do avoid like the under eye area, but I will put this on my chin, on my forehead, on my cheeks, basically there. And then I just rub that in a little. Honestly, I'm not too gentle with my skin, which isn't probably not the best thing. I know a lot of people say like you just have to be very gentle and, you know, not move your skin a lot, but honestly this is me all the time. For eyelid primer, I'm gonna go ahead and take the e.l.f. 16-hour Camo Concealer. This is the one I like to use on my eyelids. I feel like the other one, the one with the white lid, that one kind of, since it's a little bit more moisturizing, I feel like it just moves a little bit on my eyelid. And this one, I feel like it's fine. And I don't put a lot. I'm not trying to carve out my eyebrows. I stopped carving out my eyebrows, and yesterday I was like, oh, let me just carve them out for funsies. And it was not it, girl. It was not it. So then I'm gonna also take a beauty blender. I actually got these at Marshall's, but I know that they do sell them, the regular like beauty blender brand, at drugstores. And then with that, I'm also going to use the e.l.f. makeup mist. I do like to just spray, I'm gonna spray it off camera, but I do just like to spray with this spray. I don't know why. I feel like I like it better than using water. I tap that excess on my arm and then I just like to blend it out. Again, I'm just blending it. I'm not really trying to do any crazy like cut creases or anything. Now that I've blended that in, I'm going to go ahead and take my L'Oreal Infallible pressed powder. I am going to take this, and I can't tilt it sideways, but I'm going to use that to just set under my eyes, under my brow bone, and kind of down into my crease. I'm going to do the same thing on this eye. Also, I feel like sometimes I don't mention what shades I am. This one's in the shade 10. It's, I think, the lightest shade, but if I ever forget to mention something, it'll be linked down below. Okay, so for the last year, I've been used to just doing like neutral looks for some reason. I've really been mainly sticking with putting bronzer on my lid, and I don't know, I think this is just like a tried and true easy way to go, like if you're in a hurry. But recently I have been liking the Wet n Wild bronzer in the shade, what shade are you? Sunset Striptease. And the reason I like this as an eyeshadow is because it is a little shimmery. I'm not sure if you guys can see, it is like a little shimmery. So I do like it because it is adding like a brown tone, but it's also adding a little bit of a shimmer, which is nice. And Like I said, last year my go-to look was just like brown. Brown, brown, brown. And then occasionally I'd mix it up with like color, but like even now, I feel like it's just such an easy way, but it looks very put together, you know? Sometimes if I feel like it's not dark enough, like if it's something, like if I'm going out to dinner or it's like an evening event, I will pop the bronzer, the Benefit Hoola bronzer first and then this on top. But I'm not really going anywhere today. Next, I'm going to go in with the Breakup, the Wet n Wild Breakup Proof Waterproof Retractable Eyeliner. I'm going to go ahead and place that in my tight line. And honestly, if you need a black liner that lasts a long time in your eyelid or in your waterline, highly recommend this one. I hadn't tight lined or anything in a really long time, and I used this one and I'm obsessed. And it stays and it lasts a really long time, and it doesn't like really transfer to the lower lash line very much. For the eyeliner, I'm going to take the same Wet n Wild Breakup Proof liquid liner. The only thing is, I think something's wrong with mine because sometimes when I use it, it like bleeds all over the place. And like literally, do you see how much product is built up right there? Hello. So I'm going to line my eyelids, but this is bleeding. So I'm going to do it off camera just because I don't want to get it all over my clothes. But I'm just going to line from like before my tear duct area. And I'm just going to line and then do a wing. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and use my favorite primer. I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. This is the pink one, the OG one. And again, I feel like this mixes great with the moisturizer I used, and it also works really well with the foundation I like to use. So again, even though I recommend this products, just remember that you have to make sure it's compatible with what you use and the way you use things. Because just because I use it and I love it is mainly because it works great with the moisturizer I'm using, it works great with the foundation, it works great with my overall skin. So again, this is just a trial and error kind of thing. You got to try things, and if you like it and it works, keep doing it. And again, I just work this in. Okay, moving on to foundation. This has been the only foundation I reach for. I do have it in 2 different shades. It is the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. Again, super long name, but I do have 2 shades. I have the shade Very Light and the shade Light, because I feel like the light isn't light enough and the very light is giving me ghost vibes. So what I like to do is I like to put the darker shade kind of on my forehead, on my nose, kind of on my cheekbone up here, and then on my chin. And then I will use a little bit of the lighter shade. Again, I'm not using very much product. Here, center of my forehead, a little bit right here. I'm not adding too much because I am going to be going in with concealer, and then right down here. So that is basically all the foundation I add. I feel like with this foundation you don't need a ton of product, and that's also why I like it. And now I will just go in with a beauty blender, and I like to start at my nose first. Why? I don't know. I have no rhyme or reason. And then I will move down to my chin, and then I will move to this lighter area right here. I feel like it just helps to like mix the colors together. And then I just kind of start going this way. And then with whatever's left over from blending both sides, I will just kind of go towards my lips and then again down to the chin area. I have a little bit of darkness right here because I had like a pimple. So we're just gonna have to deal with that little shadow. I let this set for a little bit, and now I'm going to go ahead and go in with what I like to use for bronzer, and that is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. I use this for bronzer mainly because my Target never has my shade in this foundation, and I've been wanting to try it. And since they never have my shade, I was like, you know what, I'll just get the darker shade, and I'm sure if I like it, I'll be able to tell. I think I like it. I'm gonna go in with the same e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. This is in a lighter shade. This is in the shade Fair. It's actually really light, but if you want brightening, highly recommend. I don't put like too much because I don't want it to be super bright. Like, I want it to do brightening, but not crazy. Some people say like to let your concealers dry, but I will say anytime I've tried to do that, I think this concealer dries way too fast to do that. So first off, don't do that. For setting, I'm going to use the Revolution Translucent Powder. I just put it in this container, and I'm just going to use the same Amazon puff I'm always talking about, or that I talked about in my last video. And I'm just going to put a little bit of powder on here. Make sure that there's no creases. Do the same thing under here. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish setting my face, letting it sit for a little bit, and then we'll come back and do all the other powder products like blush, bronzer, all that good stuff. It's been a little bit. I took off all the powder that I have on, so now it's just like a clean base. Keeping in line with the only using drugstore products, I realized I don't have a ton of drugstore bronzers. So the only one I really do have is the Milani bronzer. This one is in Deep. And I don't think it's really a bronzer. I think it's just like a regular face powder, but I've used this as bronzer. So I'm going to go ahead and use this shade. Again, usually I like something that's a little more ashy, but because we're only using drugstore products, I am going to force myself to use this shade. Again, I wish it was a little more gray toned, but I feel like for me, anytime I've seen blushes, not blushes, bronzers at the drugstore, all of them are very orange toned. And if you're going in because that's like your skin tone, I think that's great. But when you're like me and you're a little bit fairer skinned, it's hard to use that as a bronzer. It just, or as a contour. It works as a bronzer, but not as a contour. I did also use a little bit of the, which I didn't mention, but right now that I'm looking in the mirror, I can see a little bit of a glow. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. This one, I really like it because if you swirl it on the lid, I feel like it gets a little, not shimmery, but like it enhances the glow elements. So I feel like now it looks a little bit better. Not better, it just looks more glowy. And lastly, I will go in with the same bronzer powder we used on our eyelids, and I will use it on my forehead. I feel like this is just, like on my forehead and cheekbone area, I feel like it just helps kind of match the tones that we have on our eyes, also on our cheeks, and I just feel like it just makes it look a little bit more unified. And again, it has a little bit of a shimmer sheen to it, like very, very fine glitter in it, but I feel like it just adds to the glowy effect, if that makes sense. For blush, this has actually been my more recent purchase blush wise. I'm going to be using Mellow Wine by Wet n Wild. I used to have the old packaging, but let me just say, this goes a long way. Like, it will literally last all day, and a lot of blushes don't do that for me except for this one. And I think when I barely had purchased it, I was like, oh, going ham, you know, with it, thinking that it wasn't gonna last all day, and no, I probably look like a clown. But yeah, a little bit goes a long way. Like, I've only tapped into the blush twice, and there we have it. Again, if you want like a little bit more, I'm gonna try and kind of blend it up. I'm not trying to go too crazy because sometimes I go a little ham. I am trying to get more into blushes because for a long time I was just using my same MAC blush from years ago. But they discontinued it, and like I love this blush like no other. It is what is it called? This is my favorite blush, like I said, and they discontinued it, so obviously there's no way I'm ever gonna get it again. And I'm gonna mix a little bit of the Milani Blossom Time Rose Blush Powder. I think they still make these, but I don't know if they still make the same shade because I saw them the other day. But I do like this shade because it does have like a little bit of a pinky goldy tone, and it gives me very much NARS Orgasm kind of color, very subtly. And then I always put a little bit right here. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I don't bring any of the bronzer or contour colors more than like right here, because when you have a rounder face and you're trying to make it look less round, you need to leave that space open and just darken the sides of your face is what I've learned. So I will just pop a little blush there. I feel like it just gives a really pretty sun-kissed kind of glow. And I mean, when are we not? We're in California. I realize that I do have a lot of Wet n Wild stuff, but that is because I do genuinely love Wet n Wild products, and I feel like a lot of times a lot of people don't talk about Wet n Wild. They talk about L'Oreal, Maybelline, but like no one ever talks about Wet n Wild. I feel like they're the new version of e.l.f. Like no one was talking about e.l.f. and now everyone's like, ooh, e.l.f., e.l.f., e.l.f. But now no one is ever talking about Wet n Wild, and Wet n Wild honestly has some of my favorite blushes, my favorite mascara. There's a lot of good things with Wet n Wild, but again, I haven't used this blush and I don't even know if they still have it. It is their Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in the shade Precious Petals. Not gonna lie, I think for a while I wasn't using highlighter, and then all of a sudden I started using it again, and now I am literally obsessed with highlighter again. If I go crazy now, you know. I'm also gonna set with the e.l.f. Makeup Mist and Set. I normally will go for this when I don't need like a ton of longevity in my makeup, like if it's just like from day to night and that's it. If it was like a more special event, I would probably go in with the Milani one because that one for sure lasts a long time. But like I said, it is already like 4:30. This makeup isn't going to be on for very long. Okay, now I will go in with my beauty blender and tap in the setting spray. And if you guys are ever wondering how to really help the powder products blend together, stick together, look less like powder and more like skin, that is what you need to do. Not just set it and leave it, but set it and tap it out, and you will see such a difference in the way that the powder and everything kind of just like blends together, as opposed to just kind of like sitting there and that's it. For my lower lash line, I'm going to go in with the color I used for bronzer by Milani. And I'm just going to blend that on my lower lash line. And honestly, I take it really far down. Like I pulled that color down like way down here. This is the Revolution Love Island palette. I got this because my sister made me a Love Island fan, so I bought us matching Love Island palettes. But I'm gonna go ahead and take a mixture of this color right here and this one over here, and I'm just gonna set that on my lower lash line. I honestly have not tightlined in ages, so I'm like, this looks a little different, but like good different or bad different? And then finally, I'm just gonna add a couple coats of mascara and just make sure to wiggle it into the waterline as well, so that the roots of our lashes are all covered up as well. For brow gel, I don't really have one from the drugstore that I like. The one I currently like is from Benefit, but I will go ahead and use the NYX brow glue. I haven't used this in a while, so I honestly don't even know if it works. Okay, lastly for lips, which is always my favorite, I found a new favorite lip liner because some of the Kylie ones, they only sell them in the lip kits, and they don't sell my favorite, which is Malibu or Candy K by itself anymore. So I found this one. This is the L'Oreal Color Riche Matte, This is in the color Mastermind. They're all kind of a play on, it has a play on words to matte. So Mastermind, but I am just going to use this and line my lips. And then I started going back to an oldie but a goodie, the L'Oreal Ferris Nude. I love this lipstick so much. It works great as a transition shade. And then finally on top of that, I'm going to put the Revlon Colorstay Ultimate Suede lipstick in the shade Private Viewing. This is such a pretty color. You would think it is this light, but I don't think it is. It's like a little bit light, but not a ton. I will also usually go in with a lip gloss, but I don't really have a drugstore lip gloss right now. So I'm just gonna go in with this regular clear gloss, nothing crazy. Personally, I love when glosses are sticky. And the reason I like that is because I like to apply it and it to just last. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, these were some of my favorite drugstore products that I have been using for maybe like the last year up until recently. Like always, if there is any products that you use that are from the drugstore and you love, please let me know down below. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Like always, if you are missing me on here, don't forget you can also go and check out all my social media. They're all at biancalizet. They're also always linked down below in the description box. So yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye guys. Mwah. I don't have a ton of brow hairs. Oh, hold on. Hello?
Hey amor, te trajimos una pupusa.
Oh, you remembered. Okay. Thank you.
No, es que a tu madre se le había olvidado decirte.
Oh, okay. Ahorita voy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Okay, this has been a little... Wow.
Period. I'm like, she's cute, I get it. You know, she's a queen.
So, if they're... So yeah, if you guys want to watch... Before, I used to carve my... It's like a...